Hey Matt, good to see you, man. It's been a long time. So
It
good
has
to
been a minute. Good to
yes,
see
it's
you
been
as
a bit
well, Tony. Good to be here. Thanks.
awesome. Yeah, so I think just to kind of go back to when we first met, or I'm stretching it by saying met, because I mean we've met in person, but like like virtually first time we met. I think this was like I was a snowflake at that time. I was doing DevRel for Streamlit, and we connected because I had seen that you had moved, cross country to San Francisco, started this new job at Replit, and I was like, great. I mean, this is awesome. And we started following each other. Then we had some. I think there was a meeting where we were thinking about collaborating between Streamlit and Replit, and we've been in touch since then. But that's a long time. Things have changed a lot since that time. I think that was pre-agents, and we both kind of ended up working early days. We had early conviction in agents, and we started working on agents very early. And we both kind of had like a job changes recently, not too long ago. So it's kind of exciting to finally catch up and see, what's changed, what's evolved. But before we even get to that, for people that don't know who you are, I'd like for you to just kind of tell them a little bit about who you are, and then before we continue.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and it's really great to be here and great to catch up and stay in touch all of these, I guess, years at this point. It's crazy. It's been years. But yeah, my name is Matt, lead developer experience at Conductor, formerly at Replit through the transition from kind of originally a cloud services product to now an AI first product. And as Tony mentioned, live in San Francisco, love getting outside and having fun.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. You undersold it, but you do a lot of things. I think if somebody looks up your name, they'll see a lot of things. I think the biggest thing that I think a lot of people probably would get right now is like, because I think you have a lot of content out there on vibe coding, just vibe coding. It's a lot of content out there. You taught the world essentially how to vibe code and how to do it the right way. You have courses with Andrew Ng. You've done a lot of videos, content on YouTube. It just kind of speaks to what you've done so far. But just kind of going to those early days and at Replit, this was like early, just before agents started. I think the premise there was a little different from agents, and I think things shifted through that time when you were there. For you, did you kind of see that? I mean, it's hard to say you saw that coming, but like, how did you adapt to that change? It seems it was pretty seamless, but you've done a lot in educating people. And we're going to touch on that a little later with like DevRel piece. But for you joining Replit, what was kind of like, what led you to join Replit in the first place?
Yeah, well, this is always fun to talk about because I would love to say I saw the whole agents AI thing coming early. I totally didn't. I had no idea. And I joined Replit because I was like a Python dweeb and I liked, deploying cool apps and talking about, automations and cloud services. And I was like, oh man, this will be really cool. I'm going to teach people like how to write Python and how to deploy things in a really, really quick way. Because at the time when I joined, it was really hard to deploy, a script or a simple app or a Streamlit app. I know Snowflake has solutions for doing that, but I joined Replit and I was like, oh man, this is the tool I wish I had. Like I can write a script, I can just get it live, I can build a simple website, build a simple app, and just get it up. I don't have to go through all of these complicated, developer setups, stuff like that. And so I was there for like a couple months, and I'm teaching people about this stuff, and slowly start to realize like, hey, I'm actually just building all my demos with this like new thing, like Sonnet 3.5 at the time. And I'm like, not actually even, I'm like more and more of the code that I would ship would be written by this like AI model. And then, as we all maybe experienced at some point, you're like, okay, now I'm not really writing very much code anymore at all. As a matter of fact, I was just copying and pasting these outputs very, very often. And so, as you kind of hinted there, it was definitely a challenge. It was a challenge starting to think like, okay, developers might not be the audience. Like writing code and actually doing the like skillful part of this thing might not be the challenge. It might not be what we're thinking about. And as Replit pivoted into being an AI first company, an AI native company, so our audience changed like drastically. Developers are no longer the audience, right? It's semi-technical, maybe even non-technical people who are builders and taking their ideas and they're turning them into something real, something that runs on code fundamentally, but the process of coding is completely abstracted. And so you mentioned, a lot of material that I created early on about vibe coding and really had to like think about being a builder. And the intended audience for that is not developers. And that was definitely a challenge. It was definitely, I would even say like kind of part of my identity had to shift. It's like, okay, I'm not teaching developers. I can't just come in here and just come in hot talking about DevOps. Like I have to really think of from first principles, think about what it means to solve problems, what it means to think logically and all of these things. That was a very big shift. And I think still a shift for everyone, right? I take that into my role at Conductor. While I'm doing things a little bit more technical these days, there are a lot of our users who are coming into this like not knowing what a Git work tree is, not understanding like the workflow. And so these things are all useful independent of knowing how the technology works. Knowing how the technology works is really helpful, but we have to think about how to make things accessible. And I think that that's just part of developer marketing. It's a part of developer communication and speaking to your audience effectively. And so I'm very grateful, honestly, for that transition on the Replit side as sort of a forcing function to tell myself, hey, I need to learn how to explain these things simply, and I need to really challenge myself every day to make this content accessible because it's part of my job. So
Yeah, dude, and you do it so well. I'm sure you've heard this before. From the DevRel side of things, I mean, I work at the company which is an enterprise piece, and we have Replit as a product, and I'm sure there's so many other enterprises out there that use Replit internally. And I can't tell you how many times like I've referenced people just go watch Matt's video or go look at the docs. Like it's pretty easier than me just trying to explain the thing to you, and you lower the barrier in terms of just kind of like the non-technical folks that are trying to use this thing. So these days, even in our company, the non-technical folks are the ones building the dashboards, deploying these little apps that they use daily to improve their productivity using agents. Agent 4 on Replit, and it's amazing to see that happen, and it's also very crucial that you played a huge role in kind of make that happen for most of the folks, because they can just go watch a video real quick or watch an explanation, and then they're ready to go, and you contribute, of course, to the product itself. So you've done a great job there. It goes without saying, but at the same time, just kind of pivoting to where you are today, what was kind of, I know you've recorded a video about this, I just literally just watched it, I think sometime last week, and you explained why I left Replit. I think it was very succinct, very to the point, and I love it. I think it was like 4 minutes and some seconds, but it was perfect. If you could just do like a quick short blurb of like, okay, what did you see in terms of like what's coming next? Because I think some of us working at the frontier of agents, we kind of see these things coming very early, more than the people that are not working at that frontier area, and you can tell like kind of where the things are going, where the kind of like where you're needed in a sense as well. So for you, what was kind of like that moment, and when did you decide like, okay, this is going to be the next place that I want to go into and kind of use my skills in that area in a sense to help other folks?
of course. Well, first, thank you very much for the kind words. You're flattering me way too much here, but I put a lot of effort into the content that I create. So anytime I hear feedback like that, it really means a lot to me. And also, thanks for watching my content. So, yeah, no, why leave Replit? First, I want to say the team's amazing and they're still doing a really great job. I think there's so much room to grow in that industry, and I have no doubt that they're going to keep knocking it out of the park. A lot of really great people there, a lot of really talented people. So I have no doubt of that. I think personally, we're thinking about our careers, where we want to take things. Really, the most important thing I can make in a career decision is where can I go to do my best work and be the best version of myself. Because without that piece, you're just not going to reach your potential. And I'm always thinking about like, hey, how do I help as many people as possible? How do I push kind of the bounds of what's possible for myself and then as a part of a team? And so I think Conductor really fit that bill. It's like I was like the fifth employee, I think, maybe the third employee outside the founders. We're currently a team of like 5 or 6, growing relatively quickly. But I've always wanted that experience. I've always wanted to build something, not from zero, because Charlie and Sam and Jackson, the team before me, have built some really amazing things already, and they've taken the company to raise a Series A. But to go from, hey, we're like pre-revenue, we're just a really scrappy team, and we're just going to go out there and we're going to compete with all these companies. I think Cognition raised like $1 billion today or something crazy, right? Like compete with these companies that are doing insane numbers. And I love that mentality. I love that mindset. More on the kind of like I want to make a bet side. I think that one of the most interesting problems that exists today is user interface for coding agents, right? We're all using agents. We're using a lot of agents. We're running agents in parallel. We're multitasking. We got all these terminal tabs open. It's crazy. We do not know the correct way for interacting with these agents, or this is fundamentally what I believe. I don't think we've figured out like the form factor for how communication with agents should look, right? And there's all this stuff that we're sort of dancing around, whether that's queuing, steering, running stuff in the cloud, sandboxes. What do plans look like? How do we define a goal for an agent and then have it work towards that goal? All of these things. And we're kind of starting to see them come together simultaneously. And that all starts with like the UI layer, with how we interact with these agents. And so Conductor is a place where you can orchestrate Claude codes, codexes, soon to be other harnesses in one environment and run these agents in isolated environments. So you create a new workspace. Under the hood, what we're doing, since some developers are probably watching this, is creating Git work trees. And that creates this sort of isolated environment where you can run a bunch of agents to do stuff. And I think that's a really important sort of paradigm that the Conductor pioneered. We see a lot of other tools starting to adopt this as well. But there's so much room to go with how we optimize our interactions with agents, with what should be what should be isolated rather, and what should be shared, with how we think about the way a chat should work or a UI should work around queuing messages or for sending messages, etc. And to me, that's the most exciting thing. And then also, it's the most maybe differentiated thing if we have model providers who are building really, really good harnesses and focusing on the agents and on the code, but the products might feel at times lagging. And so actually, even say more. There are really excellent products from the providers. Codex is a really good example. Codex UI is great. The Codex team is great, but you're never going to be able to run Gemini and Claude code inside Codex, right? Like this is not going to happen. So we need a way that allows you to switch between these different harnesses, which is something that Conductor does. And that's another consideration on the UI later, right? How do we switch harnesses? When do we switch harnesses? When do we use different models? How do we optimize costs? How do we think about handing off context between different models so that Claude can do our UI design and Codex can build the backend? And so I've been rambling probably longer than 4 minutes at this point, but these are just some of the things that I've been thinking about. What has me so excited about going to Conductor?
That's perfect. I like the rambling because that was going to be my next question. So you just answered it, which is why Conductor, what is Conductor
Excellent.
doing? Yeah, and you answered it pretty well. It's something that I've been seeing also internally. It's like there's so many surfaces to cover, and everybody's okay. Now when I switch to this other harness, I have to go adapt and learn how it works. But if you have one surface, it's much easier to kind of like easily blend in. You just switch the toggles, everything kind of works across the skills and everything across. And it leads me to something that I've also been thinking about lately, which is the cost for those LLMs are going up eventually. The token piece is going to go up. I've been talking to some CFOs recently and some CTOs, and their main concern now, people are coming to think, and I wrote about this yesterday. People are starting to think about, okay, wait a minute. We've been paying how much now for developers and everybody else in the company to have access to these tools, and what have we gotten out of it? And those questions are starting to matter more, and the CFOs are starting to say, hey, we got to close the tap on some of those things or ration what models you use versus what this other team uses. And there's like, you have to justify why your team needs like Opus 4.7 or GPT 5.5, for example. So it seems like the theme here is like having this one overall more of like a orchestration layer, which Conductor does pretty well in this case. And just going back to what you had talked about for the team, I think I'm only familiar with Charlie from your team, who is the CEO. I think I had talked to him before when he was at Replicate, I believe. And great guy. I think you're in a great team. But it's still amazing to me that the team is just what? Like you said, you were the fifth. Are there like 6 people now on the team or something?
Yeah, 6 people. And so it's like Charlie and Jackson, two founders, and then they brought on Guy, who's an awesome developer, Sam, who does our ops, myself, and then Lewis, who recently joined. And we're hiring, so by the time this comes out, we might pick up a few more. But yeah, everyone's always surprised we punch way above our weight. So
Absolutely. That's pretty cool. So do you think some of this is attributed to just the Conductor itself? You guys use Conductor. I'm sure like you have to dog food yourself. So do you think that obvious probably plays a big role. You could say more about it too in terms
yeah,
of
no, I
like,
mean,
yeah,
this is how I think. Yeah, the best part about working for a coding agent tool is you get to use coding agents all day. You get to understand how the product works, and then you get to improve it. So one of the bigger things that I worked on when I first joined was our message queue and some of this other polish. It's just like I dog food Conductor a bunch. I take what I like about other products. I take what I like about Conductor. I take what I don't like, and then we try and refine that over time. It helps us ship faster. And so you get a nice kind of feedback loop there, nice little flywheel where it's like the better we make the product, the faster we develop the product, the faster, the more we can get done. And I do everything in Conductor. So yeah, that's a huge part of it.
that is pretty cool. I think that's a good selling point because then it's like we using it, we can teach you how to use it and improve your workflows at your company and make it much better for developers. And so kind of shifting back to DevRel a little bit. We've both done DevRel. We know how the tradecraft works. For you, when did you realize at least that you like of course building, but then also teaching at the same time?
Yeah. So, I was before I got into DevRel, I was first a product analyst. So I was doing data stuff. And then I was a data engineer. And so I was building like data pipelines. And I think that was like kind of during COVID. And at some point I realized I don't really want to like be, just locked in a room writing code all day. I like talking to people. And so it's funny, I started like doing some writing in my free time, like writing about databases, writing about OLAP versus OLTP, writing about DuckDB, which had just came out at the time, writing about all these like interesting, Delta Lake and all of these technologies that I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I want to like tell people about this. And I got some really good feedback from that. Like just putting out what I thought were kind of crummy articles and talking to people on the internet. And I realized, oh, there's like this community on the internet. I mean, like before this, right? I was just like a guy who's like, doing his job, like learning. And then at some point you realize there are other people that do these things. And if you take these ideas and then you share them with people, like, you kind of build in public, it creates like people reciprocate those ideas and you like make friends and like build these relationships online. And I was like, this is really cool. And the more I did that, the more opportunities I got. I wrote a few white papers with O'Reilly, partnered with Databricks, partnered with LinkedIn Learning, put out some like data courses, which is crazy because I did this like 3 years or 4 years ago at this point, and I still get people that are like, "Oh, hey, I took your course on LinkedIn Learning," and I'm like, "That's sick," like you forget about it. Or hey, I was randomly on the O'Reilly website and I came across this book and your name's on it. Like, is this just like another guy? And I'm like, no, that was me. So it's like really fun. But I got feedback such that I was like, oh, I guess I'm good at this thing. And so, like, what do you look for in a career? Well, it's like the thing that you're really good at, the thing that you enjoy, and the thing that's like ideally good for society or something, right? Like you don't want to do something evil necessarily. And so at some point I was like, okay, this mix of engineering and then just like teaching people stuff or telling people about it is really fun. And apparently I'm good at it. I should do this more. What do people call that? I don't even know. And I did like some searches on the internet and they're like, oh, DevRel. So I went and did DevRel at a data company. I moved out to San Francisco for that, or the Bay Area rather at the time, because I believe very strongly on in-person work. I really wanted to make a bet on being in proximity to where things were getting done. And, then was looking for a switch, joined Replit, AI stuff happened. I was like, I need to, San Francisco is where I need to be. I'm not going anywhere else. And I got very lucky. Essentially, I worked really hard and I got very lucky. But that's how it all started.
Dude, that's amazing. I didn't even know you were a data engineer before because I was also a data engineer. Just very weird coincidences that we kind of share here. And it goes without saying, I think all the best DevRels I've talked to is like people who are just kind of like doing their own thing, and then they just like found out, oh, there's this thing called DevRel right here, and it's essentially what you've been doing, and it's like it's actually a career path, and it's just interesting to hear that all the time. Like, okay, this is just amazing. You just stumble onto it because you love teaching and you love also learning at the same time.
Maybe my hot take is that like, DevRel, being a DevRel is a lot like being a politician. If you're just like, hey, I want to be a DevRel, like if you're like, hey, I want to be a career politician, that's like not a good vibe. You're just like doing something else and then you realize you're good at like politics or something. It's kind of like you're doing something else and you realize you're good at DevRel, and it can come from like two directions, right? You can just be like a software engineer that tells people about stuff, or you can be telling people about stuff and then realize you're creative and you get into software engineering. Like it's all good, but I definitely think it is funny how most very good DevRels approach it from one of those two positions, right? And they kind of luck into it.
Yeah, that good observations. I kind of from all the friends, and I know DevRel is a small community. You get to know everybody. It's like very tight knit, and so this experience is kind of like you hear from everybody. You're like, oh yeah, oh you too. Okay, great. So we kind of like it's like it auto picks the same people. But for somebody that's maybe listening right now and is like, I just heard about this DevRel thing the other day, and I'm a little bit interested in it. What are the best things or top three things that I can do to just kind of like put myself at the head of the pack, or like be a good DevRel in a sense? Like I want to be like Matt, for example. Like what are the things that you looking back like right now, like okay, what would you like be like? These are the specific, like a few of them. I know it's a very wide role, but like things that you're like, these are important to care about, at least if you want to be successful in this role.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know that they want to be like me, but I can't recommend that. But if you're interested in getting into DevRel, you can there's a really great website, whatisdevrel.com. Just go there first. That's a good place to start. Shout out Lee Rob, shout out some other folks who contributed to that. The best way, I think, is just to start building stuff and telling people about it. So like at a fundamental level, anything that you want to be good at, that you want to do in life, you can actually do by just starting, right? It's like kind of crazy. People are like, oh, Matt, how did you get into creating content? I just started recording videos and they were really bad. And then they got slightly better over time. And now they're like still kind of bad, but like better. Same thing. How do you start writing code? How do you start using AI? All this stuff is just like, hey, look, eventually you just have to sit down and figure it out. And it's actually a lot easier now because you can talk to ChatGPT. Things like video editing used to be so hard. You just talk to ChatGPT, talk to Claude. It'll help you through it. But the short answer is start. The long answer is DevRel is typically community, content, and product. So you could think about those three things. What interests you? Do you like building products, writing documentation? That's one way you could do like developer experience or developer relations. Do you like a community? Do you like getting people together, starting Discords, starting email lists, like bringing people together? That could be another type of DevRel. Do you like content? Do you like making videos, making podcasts, writing blogs, all of these things, right? And so I think about those three areas as kind of foundational, and like a really good DevRel can just do one of those things super well. And they're like, maybe they're not even DevRel, they're called community manager, but effectively it's the same thing. They're community manager that knows how to code, right? A really great DevRel maybe flexes into a couple of those things. And if you want the whole shebang, it's like you learn how to create content, you learn how to talk to people online, and then you learn how to use a product really thoroughly, make product observations, and bring that product feedback into the product. It's kind of like you get to do it all. And so that's a framework for thinking about it. But short answer is just start. And I think one of the things that I've observed is that really great DevRel typically make good founders. And that's because you sort of have to be a jack of all trades, right? And I especially love this about my job because it's like, You want to do lifecycle marketing? Cool. Well, you need to write the code for the lifecycle marketing. You need to make all the content for the lifecycle marketing. You need to implement it, and then you need to actually send the email. So it's like, okay, this is essentially just being a founder and setting up marketing, right? And it's really fun. So if you're not really like into that, you can go to a bigger company and maybe do more narrow focus. But I think, if you just get in the habit of building in public and sharing things with people, you eventually start to touch all of these areas of DevRel. And that's how you can maybe figure out if this is something you want to do full time.
That is very, I think that I second that. That's very good advice. And I would take the same thing for myself as well. And also just kind of like thinking out, because somebody might be like, okay, great, this is awesome. But now it's like, DevRel feels that it's changed a lot since agents became a thing in terms of like the target market that you're targeting. I mean, it used to be, it's called developer relations for reasons, developer relations, developer advocacy. So it's all developers. But now I feel like the change is now become like builder relations or builder advocate, because everybody can kind of build right now with vibe coding, agentic engineering, however you want to call it. Are you seeing that shift as well? Like, and then you talked about it here with Replit, what you were doing at Replit. You were able to like build resources, not mostly for developers, but for everybody else, because everybody's a builder now. So do you see kind of DevRel evolving a little bit more? I feel like it's lagging a little bit on terms of like the naming of it. I know I posted a post like 3 months ago saying it should be just builder relations, and I'm seeing some companies already kind of starting to kind of embrace that path. So what from your lens as well, how have you seen that kind of evolution happening?
Yeah, I think it depends really. It depends on what product you're building. I'd like to tell people my role is now, I'm just working towards having my role be relations. And then eventually I just talk to people for fun and I get paid to do that or something. We're not quite there yet, but I think if you're at a company that's like, I don't know, building like PyTorch or something, some sort of like PyTorch adjacent thing, it's probably still developer relations, right? You're not going to go, hey, anybody can, do this crazy stuff these days. But if you're at like companies that touch vibe coding, there are a lot of people that are writing code that are not developers, or there are a lot of people that are trying out services that are not traditional developers. They are builders, and so I think you're spot on. I don't know about necessarily the role or the career changing, because it was so inherently broad anyway. Like, what the heck is developer relations? Like I just said, it could be developer marketing, it could be community management, it could be developer experience. Nobody really knows. But I do think if you're on one of these services where semi-technical, analytical type folks that used to be developers but now can build really cool stuff without looking at the code, are doing it, like, you need to be able to speak to those people. On the other hand, right, if your audience is hardcore developers, that still exists. I think that always will exist. And you need to think about who you're talking to, because if I make content for a vibe coder and you're a serious software engineer, you might write that off, at least currently. Until we're at a point where these things are truly democratized, which I think there's some room to go, you need to pick an audience. But I think builder relations is much more of a viable career path now than it was before. And the other thing I'll say is that a lot of ideas get validated not because of the technical prowess that they exhibit, but because the idea resonates with people. If you go on Twitter, the stuff people find interesting is the stuff people find cool and relatable. It's not like, hey, this guy did this crazy thing and, like, I don't know, Rust. Like, right, this reaches a certain type of community, it doesn't reach others. And so I think at a high level, if you're a builder and you're someone that likes sharing cool ideas, you can focus more on the idea and on the product and less on the technical implementation. I think that's only going to continue moving in that direction as the models get better, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I share the same sentiment on that piece as well. And I think for me, I stepped away from DevRel a little bit, although you can't really fully step out. I'm still doing DevRel internally currently. So I joined in as a AI operations engineer. My job was just to build custom agents for all the departments, like go through, figure out what needs to be automated in a specific department, build it and help them kind of automate most of their workflows. And I build these things, but then I also have to market this thing to those teams and then also teach them how to use this tool. So I've kind of started doing videos and looms and a bunch of content within internally. So it's still, I'm still like self-contained DevRel at the same time. It's like these skills just don't go away, and as part of that, you're hooked onto it. See, I still have my background look like a DevRel, with a recording studio, but I think there's something to be said about just kind of like having that self-drive to continually do these things, even if you're not paid for it, you still keep doing it because you love doing it. And I've kind of seen that from you. I've seen other from other devils as well. And for you, what I would say, there's been I think a shift in your content. I've started seeing you doing more vlogs now, which is interesting. And you took a break from when you left Replit, and you did some amazing stuff. I loved watching all the content that you were doing on the side, like even getting a bike. What was that about? That sounded pretty cool.
Dude, exactly. Dude, it's this is something that I've always kind of blended my personality with my work. This is something I've done on Twitter for a long time. It's like, hey, I'm really into fitness. I'm going to tell people about that. Hey, I got a motorcycle. I'm going to tell people about it, and I'm going to show them like what it's like because I think it's super easy to wake up and miss the point that I'm living exactly the life that I've always wanted to live, and I get to do some really amazing stuff, and it's really fun. And I think people can relate to that. People can relate to the journey. People can relate to the challenges that we go through and the things we like outside of work, and that's actually a big part of what makes us human and interesting. And so I've always taken it as one of like my core kind of like tenets in communication that everything that comes from me authentically. There's not like multiple versions. People talk about code switching. Dude, I actually hate that term. Anytime you talk to me, you're going to be talking to Matt. If I'm on this podcast, if I'm talking to Sam Altman, if I'm talking to like, I don't know, my mom, it's actually exactly the same, which I don't know, maybe that's boring, but that's who I am. And so I want my emails to sound like Matt. I want the videos I make to sound like Matt. I want a vlog to sound like Matt. And I think that that goes further than people to expect. And so I always tell people if they're thinking about getting into DevRel, just go and be yourself and share what's unique about you and share your story. And it's very surprising because what I initially thought was people are going to think I'm such a weirdo. Maybe they do. I don't know, man. But it's been fun. So
That's awesome. I'm glad you mentioned that because for a long time I think I struggled, especially for my first DevRel jobs. I struggled with like me creating content was more of like you need to create a script, you need to share with us so we can review it, and then you're gonna record according to the script. And I struggled a lot with that. Like there was like I used to like record 5, 6, and 7, and then they would be like, "No, you got to do this other. You need to intonate here." And I got to a point where I was like, this is not really for me. And I was like, can I do live streams instead? Like, can I just like leave this alone and just do live streams? Because I'm not the polished type. And I'm glad to hear somebody else is like, I'm just gonna be me and I'm just gonna drive me. And I enjoy live stream because it's live. Nothing is pre-prepared other than like few talking points. But like the goal is like be personable, be relatable. And I think I don't know if you script any of the things. I don't think you script most of your things, but you also kind of shoot from the hip. Like you know what you've done, you've built a thing, you understand it fully. Then you should be able to just kind of teach it in a sense. So there's something just amazing about that, and I'm
exactly.
glad to hear that you share kind of the same sentiment here.
Yeah, I don't script anything. I mean, if I do like the one thing I do need to script is if I need to create a piece of content that's like 30 or 60 seconds long, you kind of need to know exactly what you're going to say and then say that in a rehearsed way. So whether you want to or not, you kind of end up scripting that because you have to do a bunch of retakes. But yeah, I try not to script anything intentionally because you get these like little wrinkles and fun things. Like maybe I'll be like teaching somebody something and doing like a whiteboard, like a exactly draw or TL draw. And then I like think of a joke and I just say it. And then it's like now I have this super unique thing that was like very organic that I couldn't have scripted because it was like, okay, like, you can go through my videos and listen to me like do some silly joke or analogy, and that's what makes it fun. And also the mistakes, like, I think it's good to show mistakes. It's good to show things don't work sometimes, especially in AI. It's like, okay, if I was doing a tutorial before and I just made a bunch of mistakes, people would be like, all right, this guy like probably needs to work on that a little bit. But hey, the truth is it happens. And if I'm doing something for the first time, I'm probably going to make the same mistakes, so it can be valuable. But with AI, it's like none of this is deterministic. So like I might do this and it might break, and you might do it and it might work. The opposite might be true. So I think the authenticity people really appreciate. And yeah, man, I don't know. It definitely makes me optimistic that I'm a couple more video model generations away from getting automated away. Right? They won't have AI Matt until like 2028. So I think we're good for a few years.
Yeah. I hope so. But I think the authenticity piece, I don't think that's kind of going away. There's just something about yourself, your image. And I think goes back to like, if you were scripted, then there's a chance you're getting automated. But I think the unscripted version is what needs to exist and is more personal. But that's really awesome to hear and refreshing. Uh, one last question for you here. We're kind of operating on, we've talked a bit about like just kind of operating at the frontier, what things are changing, what things are coming. Where do you see kind of things are going with just the UI aspect of it? Because I've kind of talked a bit about this also separately in terms of like, I think where we're going is the human and agent collaboration layer just needs to exist, where it's much easier. And I was using an example of Notion, I was saying, or even Obsidian, but I think Notion was kind of the one I mentioned. It's much easier to be there. You can leave comments on things and agents can pick it up as well, just because they released the CLI the other day. So there's an aspect of like one unified platform where agents and humans can collaborate. Same thing with Conductor, and I think Conductor fits in there pretty well. Do you see that kind of becoming a more important topic in future? What else are you seeing that early days in a sense, because things change real fast in this space as well?
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I think that's a very like high level way to think about it. Like more tactically, it's like, okay, how do I communicate with an agent while I'm on a walk? How do I like pick up the work that I started when I was at my desk? How do I send these little tweaks or feedback. How do I plan work? How do I, like what does actually look like? And I think we're at kind of, like the iPhone moment for agent communication where it's like, hey, we didn't actually know what the right like how touch screens should work on a phone. We didn't really know what a smartphone should be for a while. And there were a lot of failed attempts there. And I think it's the same with agent UX. It's like, hey, we don't really know the way Sandbox should work. We don't know how like pick up resume session functionality should work. Like, how does plan mode work? Like, okay, I get the static plan, but like I can't edit it. I can't leave comments to your point. There is no feedback. And then the agent starts doing something, is doing the wrong thing. How do I tell it that? How do I steer this thing? And so I think we are at this point where nobody really knows what it looks like. And one of the fun things is I work at Conductor and like I try all the latest tools and we can see tools copying each other. You look in Codex, you see stuff they took from Claude Code. You see stuff Cursor took from, a little bit of them. Cursor's actually been innovating quite a lot as well. So good job on their product. And then we borrow some things and they take a lot of stuff from us. And it's kind of like, it's funny because everybody's like looking around like, well, what are they doing? What are they doing? But I think the real innovation is going to come from the people that say, hey, actually, this is what the future looks like. This is the right way to do things. And we're going to make a big bet that our way is the right way. You can't really copy that because it has to be novel and it has to be innovative. So I think there's so much work to be done on how we interact with agents. And the tricky part about that is that the agents are changing, the models are changing, the ground is like the products aren't finalized, right? The ground is kind of moving underneath us, which presents some interesting challenges as well.
Yeah. Awesome, man. That's a good closeout, man. And just want to thank you for coming on. This was awesome. We definitely will going to be catching up pretty soon here. If anybody's going to be in the AI Engineer Conference, we should link up, of course. But looking forward to meeting you again. And thanks again for coming on, man. This was awesome. We should do this again sometime.
Anytime, man. Looking forward to seeing you in San Francisco. Anybody else that's listening and come out to AI Engineer, come out to San Francisco, hit me up. Would love to catch up.